Hey, that could be a part of the video. You like, yo, why you got all the things? Because I got no excuse for this right now. Like, she was just eating on
that's
me.
it. That's what it is. That's fatherhood
Dad
right
life.
there.
Yeah.
That's dad life. You're right. That is dad life. I remember those days.
All right.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to DADAcation. My name is Abe, and today we have our special guest, Danicka. Danicka, introduce yourself. How are you?
Hi, I am doing well. My name's Danicka, friend of Abe's for a few years now. So,
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk about a lot about the importance of fatherhood. As you know, what DADAcation is. DADAcation is my nonprofit that I started to help uplift fathers, but also normalize. My mission is to normalize fatherhood. So we're just gonna get a few questions in, just to see what you think, and where your importance as you have two children. Mm-hmm. So what is your definition of fatherhood?
fatherhood. So I have two children, 16 and 14. And, my definition of fatherhood is just a man that is there to provide, not just financially, but emotionally, be supportive to his children, be there every step of the way. I think that, with when you have children, fathers are equally as important as mothers are in raising the children. And, I think that a father's role in their children's life is, like I just said, just as important as a mom's role. And just like mothers have I'm a single mom. I've been doing it my own this whole time. Through no choice of my own, I didn't decide to be a single mom. But, I think a real father would want to be there for their children. That's when I think of fatherhood, I just think of, a man providing, emotionally, like I said, financially, just in every aspect of the child's life.
Absolutely. So I seen that you mentioned that you're a single mom,
Yeah.
as I know. When did you become a single mom?
When I was pregnant with my second. So he and I were together for 6 years. And I helped him raise his daughter at the time. She was 2 when I had first met him. We were together for 4 years. We actually lost a child before I ended up getting pregnant with my oldest. And then right when my oldest was about a year old, I ended up getting pregnant again. And we ended up separating when I was about 6 months pregnant. Infidelity played a role in that. And that was the end. And I thought that when we had separated, because he was such a great dad, to his daughter and to our son that we had at the time, I never thought that I was going to be a single mom. Like, I knew even if he and I were not together, he would still be a great father to his children. And unfortunately, just, that wasn't the case in my situation. When we separated, he just decided not to be involved. And he was involved for maybe the first few months after I gave birth. And then I think, I kind of want to choose my words carefully because we are in a cordial space right now, but my truth is my truth. He just chose not to be involved. Let's just say that. And that was for a few years. So I was doing it all on my own. I mean, I've always done it all on my own, but he was not involved for 7 years.
Gotcha. And were you accepting of help, as in presence, or in the day and age we are on today, there's just a lot of, not neglecting, but like a lot of how would you call it? Like not accepting or restriction? Were you like any restrictive
No.
or anything of?
No, I didn't care about, my whole thing was just be there for your children, especially because our youngest was born with medical issues. You know what I'm saying? So, you and I don't have to be together, but still help me with your children, pick them up, take them every other week. I was encouraging that. I wanted that. And it got to the point, like in the beginning, I remember, like, it was an issue when he wasn't helping financially in the beginning. So that's why I had to put him on child support, because it was, you're not helping, you know what I'm saying, at all. And I think he became spiteful because I put him on the child support. And I would tell him, like, if you were helping me, on your own, I didn't want to have to go through the courts, but he wasn't doing anything at that time. So I had no other choice, I felt like, and as a result, he pulled away. But I remember having conversations, like the few times we would interact, or when I would interact with this family, and I would say, I would lower the support. I wouldn't even do the support if I knew that I can count on him. If I knew that, like, when it comes to holidays or birthdays or schools, if I knew I was getting that extra help around that time,
Right.
we could make an agreement, come pick up your kids. I've never been the type of mom to speak bad about him in front of them. They've never heard that. And, I was trying to encourage it, but at the same time, me being the woman I am, I'm not going to beg you either,
Right.
and it just, he knew how I felt. I still had a relationship with his family. So I would bring the children to see them, on occasion when we were in the area, but he chose not to. And at the end, that was just, it was what it was,
Makes sense. You mentioned something about spiteful, him being spiteful. It's kind of weird because I actually never hear it coming from the opposite side. So it's usually like, spiteful going the other way. So just a little bit about child support, right? So
Yeah.
you said after that happened, spiteful came through, and it's not actually hurting you, but it's actually hurting the children. Before we jump into the next question, what is your thoughts, since you brought up child support, what is your thoughts on child support?
I believe that when in a relationship and, both parties separate, there should be a financial agreement, and one that's, acceptable by both parties, like a happy medium. When I say, because he wasn't helping financially at all. And at that time, I remember, when you give birth, you're on maternity leave. You're only getting 60% of your pay. I was paying market rent. I wasn't on any government assistance or anything like that. So it's just like the little bit of money. I'm not even getting my full pay. All of my money is going to, the household bills. And I remember one time just getting $100 for the month. I have a 1-year-old, a newborn, and you're only giving me $100, for the month. Like, are you kidding me? And, and when I say like he became spiteful, because like every time we would argue, it was always, he would bring up child support. And mind you, he's paying the same amount of child support now that the boys are 16 and 14 years old as he paid from when I first put him on, when my youngest was 4 months old. To me, it's not about the money. You were going to help me financially because these were also your children. I didn't make them on my own. But there are so many times people are like, oh, you should have brought him back. You should have brought him back. You should be getting a lot more. And it's just like, I don't care, because as long as he's paying something, I'm fine with that. What they need, I'll get. They're good regardless. But, when it comes to child support, I do believe that both parents need to contribute. Now, in some cases, where I know a few individuals where it's extreme, like it's unfair at how much the other parent needs to pay. And then you're on social media and you hear all these, groupie celebrity stories of, chicks wanting to
like, what is it?
like
her name,
basketball,
Brittany,
yeah, whatever, you know what I'm
Renner,
saying? Where it's just like a
2K a
child, no, definitely more, yeah.
200,000.
Yeah,
bad,
but I'm like, come on,
Right.
they think it's a come up, you know what I'm saying? And it's not, just in my case, he needed to help financially. That was, you're not doing anything else. That's what you need to do.
Right.
Our oldest was planned, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I shouldn't be left to carry the burden on everything. Plus, like I said, I was dealing with a child who had medical issues. We were in and out of children's hospital for the first 4 years of his life.
All right.
But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, also too, when you think about it, when it's planned, I think that, both parties should speak upon each other on it, and it shouldn't be brought to the court where the court makes the decision of how much.
Absolutely.
Because child support, in like my opinion, child support in the court system is just like a money grabber.
Yeah.
When like the children really needs other things like savings for school in the future, like, real future things, not things in the present. Yeah, but my motto is that it takes a village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
And like just the support around everything shouldn't be taken for granted.
You're absolutely right.
Somebody else's.
But then it just also depends on the other parent. Like we always say that because he was we were approaching 30 at the time. And, I always say he was having like an early midlife crisis, He just did not, nothing fazed him, nothing. He didn't care. So, it was just, I wasn't going to, we were together for 6 years. And after everything we had been through, like, I'm not just going to just allow you not to your help, whether you want to be involved or not, that's on you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to force you to be a dad. They're good regardless, but you will help financially. Absolutely. That's the least you can do. And he's done it. It's been consistent. A couple times when like he moved and he got a new job, it wouldn't come in. But then, once he started working, it would kick back in. And they've been, with or without it, the boys are good.
So we're gonna get into a little bit more context in general. Let's bring back to my question. You said that the spitefulness came in, right? Where that leads to the child's trauma that I will speak about. Let's speak a little bit about. First, I'm gonna ask you what's your definition in general of parental alienation. And then I'm asking another question after that. What is your definition of parental alienation? If you don't know what that is, just let me know.
No, right. When a parent is not allowing the other parent to be involved, and is doing everything to purposely not let them.
So not
be
the
involved.
Spiteful way around. Is it the spiteful?
Yeah, absolutely. It has to have spite. Obviously, you're spiteful if you're doing everything you can to put a dent in that relationship.
Right.
There is something spitefulness in there, absolutely. Evilness in there for you to even do that to your child.
Right. And then just to bring it back to align, how do you think that the spitefulness on the other end, how it happened, played a role or plays a role on a child?
Like the spitefulness on.
So say for instance, right? You put someone on child support.
Yes.
They get spiteful.
Yes.
And then they don't want to see the child.
Yeah, because they're trying to. And that's how I felt. That's exactly how I felt. I felt like because he was so mad at me for either putting him on child support. Yeah, for putting him on child support, that, it was his way. In the beginning, and him and I have had this conversation before, like he's apologized a ton of times.
So it's acknowledged.
He's acknowledged his mistakes. He absolutely has. And like I said, we're in a cordial space now, but, sometimes his memory can get a little fuzzy when, we're having conversations and I'm like, I got to remind you, this is what happened. You know what I'm saying? But for him, I think, and we've had this conversation where when, I put him on the support. He became spiteful because he was also paying support for his oldest child, and then now to my children. So he was paying a chunk, for all three of the kids. But I think that him not being involved in their lives in the beginning, I think, was to spite me, was just like his dig at me to get back at me and hurt me, because he knew the only way you can hurt me is through my children. You know what I'm saying? Because you and I are done, because of the infidelity. So you couldn't hurt me anymore that way. But the only other way you can hurt me was through my kids. And I think in the beginning it was his, him trying to get back at me by not seeing them. But then I think because I knew the father he was, and he was a good father, I don't think he meant for it to go on as long as it did. And I think once he reached a certain point, I think that's when guilt set in. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And embarrassment. And it's just like, well, how do I get it? How do I refix it and get back involved? And it's just, well, out of sight, out of mind. Let me not think about it. They're good. I'm sure he would get updates on the children from his family. My children are super close with his younger brother. That's their favorite uncle. He's been a constant in our lives. And so I know he would get updates. He always knew the kids were good regardless. But I just think it got to the point where he didn't know how to kind of reconnect with them. And it took him 7 years to finally have the guts to push his father, because it was his father that facilitated everything, kind of pushed him to be reach out to her, let her know I want to see the kids.
Gotcha. You just mentioned his father, and you just brought something up to my mind. Mm-hmm. Being a female, mm-hmm. And I believe you have another sister. I don't know if you have any other siblings after that.
I have my sister Tati. Then I have my brother, and I have a stepsister.
Right, your brother. And then your stepsister. Yeah. How was it with your father in your life, and what did he teach you, or that you learned from him about fatherhood?
This is, wasn't expecting that question. Well, my parents were married for 16 years, so my dad was involved. They divorced when I was 16. And, there's some trauma there because there was domestic violence. There was an issue with addiction. So that was just, he was there, and when he was sober, he was fine. He was a great dad. I have so many good memories of, us going to the lakes, beaches, that's where my love of salsa comes in. I'm Puerto Rican, I love all that old school salsa and just our traditions, food, cooking. We like to, cook. We're nurturers. We want to feed everybody. And he was just, when he was good, things were good. But then on the flip side, because of his battles that he's had, when things were bad, things were bad. And for a long time, we didn't have a close relationship. They divorced when I was 16. And I think from the age of 16 until I was 27 when I got pregnant with my oldest. And I probably had only seen him maybe 4 or 5 times in those 11 years. And when he came back, because he had lived in Puerto Rico for years, and when he came back, it wasn't, he didn't look his best, put it to you that way. I just did not like what I saw. When he left, I was a little girl. I was a teenager. Now I'm a grown woman about to be a mother for the very first time. And I remember having a conversation with him, and I said, this is not, if this is how you're going to be, then I can't have you around me, and I can't have you around my child, because I'm not going to allow my child to see things or experience, things that I had to see growing up because of addiction. And And that was honestly, that was a blessing in disguise that him and I had that conversation, because he was going to be a grandfather for the first time. And it was because of my son why he got clean. And he was clean for years, so like, even though we had a rocky 16 years, because he wasn't the best dad, and I saw a lot of things that I shouldn't have seen as a children because of his addiction, but we were able to build a bond and have a relationship once he kicked the addiction, and we became close, and I finally felt like I had my dad. And he would talk to me about relationships and his regrets. He regretted everything that he did when he was in his addiction, and he regretted losing my mom and losing his family, as he would say. And, he would he would talk about the importance of family. And even when their father and I separated, he would still never talk about him negatively. He never talked about their father. Other fathers would want to kill the guy, you know what I'm saying? And my father was like, he's a good man. He's making mistakes, but he's a good man, and he with my dad, I know what I know the kind of person I wanted. Like, before I had kids, I kind of like envisioned what I wanted like their father to be. So when I met my kid's father, he was the total opposite. He was, I'll give credit where credit's due. He was a great boyfriend. We were the best of friends. No one would ever think that we would go through what we would go through, or he would have done what he did. And he, just like thinking of my dad, it was I'm going to get emotional. I'm going to try not to get emotional. I'm going to try not to get emotional. But, I knew what I envisioned. So when I met my kid's father, it was like he was like the good parts of my dad. You know what I'm saying? The good parts, not the bad parts, but the good parts. And, when it ended, obviously I was devastated. But my dad was definitely there to just, try to just give advice. And he was an awesome grandfather, so he kind of also like stepped in a little bit to, just be there as much as he could for his grandkids, because, they didn't have their dad. And I'm lucky. I come from a big family, that. So, if it was my dad, my stepdad, my uncles, my close friends, like, I had a village, you know what I'm saying? So thank God I did, because I know a lot of people don't have that. Right. So the boys have been very lucky.
Absolutely. Not to stay on this topic, but I know your father recently passed away. Yeah. My condolences. Thank you. But what are your thoughts for like today, not having your father around, like, and I know you said you built that strong relationship with him after 16 years. What is it that you would feel like you need him now for?
Just to talk to, make me laugh, My father was super, he loved his kids. He loved his kids, but when I tell you he loved his girls, his daughters, he would always like, no, I don't want to say show off, but he would always, like, anyone he met, he was always talking about his daughters, and, my daughters are beautiful, and da-da-da-da-da, and they're so smart, and, he'd always gloat about us. And, I think I just remember, or what I miss the most are just the little things, just like, my birthday, he'd be the first one calling at like 7:00 in the morning, you know what I'm saying? Just to say happy birthday and to tell me how much he loves me and, how he's hoping, I have a great day, or just his visits. When he would visit, I'd plan for him to come. Every time I knew he was coming, I'd always make it a habit to have like my siblings there. But like, he would cook, and I wouldn't have to lift a finger. Like, everything was done from the time we got up in the morning to the time we went to bed, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He's cooking, he's cleaning, he's just like doing everything. And then we'll have like some drinks and throw on some music, and we just dance the night. Or like, it was just like a hangout. He was just like a hangout buddy. He was fun. So it's just, I miss that. I miss just, being able to pick up the phone, but I was also like, out of the three of us, I was also the one that gave him that tough love. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes like I could tell when, things weren't on the up and up, especially as the later years came on before he passed. And, so like he'll call me and like I tell it to him straight. I'm not going to bite my tongue. If I'm noticing something I don't like, I'm going to tell you. And he would get mad at that. He would not get mad at it, but he'd be like, oh, you think you're my mom? You know what I'm saying? He'd start calling me Carmen because her name's Carmen. And you think you're my mom? Okay, Carmen. And then he'd call my sister and talk to her because she's daddy's little girl. So she'll always like, okay, Papi. And, but I just miss him overall. I think we all do. My sister, she was a daddy's girl. My children, they were just so used to just us going over his house for the holidays or him coming over and hanging out. And it's just sad when you lose someone. He was at my house. He spent the weekend at my house. I had just bought the house and I had canceled. We had already made plans a couple times and we canceled on each end. And I remember this one particular weekend he was coming and I was this close to canceling because my aunt wanted me to go to her house. And I'm like, no, I really can't. My dad's coming. I can't cancel on him. Like I have to. And thank God, like we had the best time. My brother, sister-in-law were there. The kids were there. He cooked, you know what I'm saying? Like we were drinking, we were having fun. I think there was like a Patriots game or something on. Like it was a good weekend. And he ended up, he lived in Lawrence, so I dropped him off and Forest Hills because he was going to hop on the commuter rail. And that was on a Sunday. And I got the phone call Wednesday that he had passed away. So like, it's weird how God works because it's just like, I feel like we hadn't seen each other in a few months at that time. So it's like we had that magical weekend where we laughed and we were all together and he was emotional because all of us were together. So we would like cry and we'd make fun of him for crying and, and like, all right, Papi, stop being like, stop being weird. Stop crying. What are you crying for? And then he passed away days later.
It's like you said, it's funny how God works.
Yeah.
It's actually also to a blessing how you guys were all put together in that same room to have your last laughters and cries.
Yeah.
Because you just like, one of my biggest things too with like the whole DADAcation is I'm trying to get fathers back into the lives with the children's because like, tomorrow's not promised.
Tomorrow's not promised.
You know what I mean? And you never know that last time you see your father, you grow up, where's my dad? Where's my mom? You just never know.
Yeah. And that was my thing is I was like, thank God because I could have canceled and I was almost there at canceling and I was like, I can't. And it would have killed me even more, and then, so when I think about everything back then and it's just like, that was God's gift. God gave us that gift of just one last weekend together, all of us together before he took him. And that was kind of beautiful in a way. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It was beautiful in a way. And we miss him. We miss him tremendously. So much has happened since he's been gone, but we talk about him so much and we visit him so much and we honor his memory so much that it feels like we haven't talked to him in a couple of, months. It doesn't feel like it's been, going on 5 years?
Wow.
Yeah, January will be 5 years because we still keep his memory alive. We talk about him like as if he's still here.
I see it even just like on Facebook, the memories you repost, like just you guys dancing, like it gets me every time.
Us dancing, that was our thing. Anytime he came over, it was like, let's throw on some old school salsa and we dance. So it's just beautiful. Let's dance and let's eat. You've been to my house, I fed you, you know what I'm saying? Like we like to feed people and that's just what it is. So just like food and laughter and just fun. Those are the important things.
That's beautiful. On that same topic, like, how do you think in your life and in your children's life, how do you think he made an impact?
It definitely showed us that tomorrow's never promised.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything, when I had to take my son out of school and break the news to my oldest, and just the confusion on his face was like, Mommy, he was just here. Like, he literally was just here days ago. Like, how was he gone? And it's just, it makes you have to appreciate even the small moments, the little moments. If you love someone, tell them you love them. If you have a falling out with someone, if that person means something to you, work it out, figure it out. Just life's too short. And had I stayed angry at him because of all the crap he put, my mom and our family through when he was, battling his addictions, going through all that stuff, I could have stayed angry. I was angry at him a lot when I was a teenager. I moved out of my parents' house the first time at 14 because they had separated and my mom took him back. And I remember her thing was like, well, I'm only taking him back. I want to take him back because of the kids. And at that time, I was just like, you ain't using me as the excuse on why you want to take him back. You want to take him back, that's because you want to take him back. Don't use us as the excuse to take him back because we don't want you with him. Because things were that bad. And that's why I left the first time, and luckily I had my grandmother up the street and I would stay with her on and off throughout the years. But I mean, that's just that's what it was. But like, I could have stayed angry. I could have held on to that bitterness. And I think like the first time seeing him, like I said, when I was now 7 months pregnant with my own son, and just like I was disgusted. I'll be honest. I was disgusted when I first saw him because I was like, okay, all these years, nothing's changed, because you could see it in his physical appearance. But us having that real heart-to-heart conversation, it was at my great aunt's house. I'll never forget it. And I told him, my son's not going to see this. And I'm a mom now. I'm not a little girl. It is what it is. I won't. You haven't really been in my life the last 11 years. I'm good. And, just seeing him make the effort and trying to change and changing, he did absolutely change and got his life, back on track. And it was beautiful to see. So I'm glad that I didn't hold on to that anger and to that bitterness. Because we had all of these, I had him for an extra, I don't want to give away my age, but I had him for an extra years. You know what I'm saying? Which was good. It's just life's too short. That's the one thing. Life's too short.
Let's talk a little bit about conversation and communication, because it's big, right? So a lot of people hold on to anger, and they don't like to have to talk. I know a lot of people that, have daddy issues, mommy issues, whatever it may be, but without having that conversation or talk, because you want to hold that ego and pride. Let's talk a little bit about conversation. How do you feel that conversation plays a big role in healing? Because we're going to get into the healing next, but let's talk about the conversation and why it's needed, why it's important in order to get through healing.
You have to talk about it. You have to talk about your feelings, and it's so weird that you said that, because like I told you recently that my kid's father paid a visit a month or two ago. He was here, maybe like 2 months ago, to visit the children. And there were so many conversations that we had that weekend that he was here. And it also brought up a lot of things that, like, I know everyone says that there's a me before the breakup and there's a me after the breakup. It's two different me's. I'm still a kind person. I'm still a genuine person. I know I still have a good heart. Did I become a little hardened? Absolutely. I know I did. And, with him being in town and us having conversations, difficult conversations, but they were conversations that I felt that
difficult.
Yeah, we needed to have. And it brought up so many different emotions, things that I hadn't even thought about in years, just certain things like he would, or he wouldn't remember, or he was off on his memory about it. And I would have to remind him like, no, this is actually what happened, but it was as difficult as it was, this was the first time that we were able to communicate without the other one getting offended or, spazzing out, or, it was a respectful conversation, and like I said, like, he's apologized up and down. He has, and I've forgiven, but I don't forget. And you can't forget, because there's a lot of things that had gone on that, that was difficult to deal with, especially on my own with, 2 children, and one of them having medical issues. So just after his visit, I remember just like, it took a lot out of me, because it brought a lot of emotions back that I don't talk about. I have so much like bottled up, and everyone, and then my sister-in-law, I was having actually a conversation with my sister-in-law, and I just let everything out. I let everything out about what had bothered me and things. And she says, she's like, "You're so strong." And everyone's always said, like, "Dang, you're so strong, you're so strong, you're so strong." And she's like, "But I know that there's so much still bottled up in you that you haven't dealt with yourself," which I know it's there. I know it's there. And she ended up sending me, I'll send it to you, but it was like some clip of he's like I don't know if he's a pastor, but it was just like about forgiveness.
What's his name?
I don't even remember his name.
Okay.
I have the video, so
Okay.
I'll definitely find the video and I'll send it to you. Because I saved it, because it hit the nail on the head. And it was about forgiveness, and it was about healing. And, I absolutely believe in God. I pray, but I'm not like a go to church every Sunday type,
Right.
Female. But like, I actually watched it, and that's why I saved it, because I'm like, it hits so many different points for me. And, I'm grateful that she sent it, but it's just like, and that's what she said. She's like, "You need to heal." And she's like, "You haven't healed as much as you think you have," because like, I've been successful since then.
Right.
I went and I bought a home. I have, 2 amazing children that are good kids, honorable students. I have a great career. I have so many positives going on in my life, but at the same time, she says there's so many things that are deep down inside that you never really confronted, because at that time it was just like, I don't have time to deal with all that. I got to focus on my kids. I don't have time to focus on myself.
Right. So that's where you skipped the healing kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I did, because I think back then, like I said, we were separated when I was pregnant. So when I gave birth to Gio, and I already knew that he was going to be born with medical issues. We knew that from 4 months old. 4 months pregnant, we knew that. I just remember, Jesus, the hell, I was just going to say something and I just totally skipped it.
About healing.
Yeah.
And then you skipped the healing process.
So because I was pregnant, so my whole main thing was, even though I was dealing with the breakup, it was like kind of like a death. You know what I'm saying? Your life is one way, and in a blink of an eye, it switches. It's completely turned upside down.
Right.
You're pregnant. Your hormones are already jacked up anyways. So when I gave birth to Gio, I was so afraid of falling into like postpartum depression, because you hear about it all the time. And I didn't want that to happen to me. And luckily it didn't happen to me. But I was just so afraid of it, afraid of falling, because I could have easily fallen down. Like, no one knew he and I had separated. Only my mom, his family, obviously, but no one knew. So whenever I would be around my family, my aunts, uncles, and they'll ask, "Oh, where is he? Oh, he's working." I didn't want anybody to pity me.
Gotcha.
I didn't want anyone to feel bad, So when we broke up, I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to focus on him. I have to focus on these kids. I can't even focus on myself. Like, I need to make sure I don't want to slip into postpartum depression. And all my focus literally went to my oldest and my youngest, who, like, he was born with all the issues. So it's just like, I have to focus on him. Mm-hmm. He's not even worth me focusing on. You know what I'm saying? But in turn, like, I never really focused on myself either.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Because my next question was going to be, what was your healing process like?
Yeah.
But you kind of just yeah.
I mean,
I think we're always healing too. Like I don't think we're ever finished healing.
No.
It's always going to be a scar tissue.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's always, and and I've been in relationships since, him, I was married, but then I knew early on, once I got married, nope, this isn't going to work. Yeah. So it's just like, I'm going to get out. You know what I'm saying? Before. And that only lasted legally, like what, a year and a half. We were like legally married. We separated right after our first anniversary, and we were friends for years, but it was just like, nope.
Something about somebody, I forgot whose relationship, but somebody was saying like they make sure they have that conversation before now, like of what they're not accepting. And if it happens, it's just like,
I think that's why I'm so cautious now.
Trust issues.
I mean, I know that, I think I'm at the age, but I'm also older. So I'm at the age now where I was just having this conversation yesterday, as a matter of fact, where it's just like, cause everyone's like, you don't have a boyfriend, you're not dating, whatever. And it's just like, no, you know what I'm saying? I'm not. You
can get forced into something like that because you're just going to end up forcing yourself into being unhappy.
I'm not in a rush. I'm good. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, I said, my next relationship that I'm like serious, like I want my next relationship to be my last relationship. I'm not getting any younger.
Till death do his part.
I mean, I don't know about all that. I don't know if I'll do that again. He has to be pretty amazing for me to do that again. But like, and at that point, like, it's just, I want someone to be my person, and me there.
A best friend.
A best friend, absolutely. Best friend. I got his back. He has my back. I don't have to question his intentions or whatever. Like, it is what it is. We're there for each other. No questions asked. But, like I said, I want it to be my last relationship because I am getting older.
Right.
So everyone, you want that companionship eventually. But I'm also at the point too, where it's like, I'm not out there. I mean, I get asked to go on dates. And I could, but it's also, my kids are older. You know what I'm saying? I have teenage boys. So I'm kind of like, I kind of rather wait. They're in high school now. I kind of rather wait for them to be like out in school, whatever, for me to focus on myself. And that's when I'll focus on, getting a companion or whatever. But I'm not, I'm good. They're my bodyguards anyways. They ain't letting me. I don't know. Like,
who that?
Yo, I swear, if I'm in makeup or whatever, you already know my oldest. Going? He's like, why do you have makeup on? Where are you going? I'm like, Jesus, relax. Can I get a little pretty? He's not having it.
What was my next? So we're gonna wrap it up with these last two questions. Mm-hmm. This last question is kind of geared towards mothers. Like, what is motherhood like to you, as in a way of, how can I explain this? Motherhood. What is a role of a mother?
Protector.
And what should be a role of a mother?
Protector. My role. Mothers are different because I've seen some bad mothers. You know what I'm saying? Me.
Look, we had this conversation. Bad mothers are baby mamas.
Baby mamas. Yes. We had that conversation.
All right, go ahead.
For me, protector. Those are my babies. I don't care how grown they are. Those are my babies. I am going to love on them, protect them, support them. They're my life. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, when I think of mother, it's just, I'm their person. Like, I think of my mom, as crazy as she may drive me sometimes. Like, that's my mama. If I need my mama for everything, even at this age, she's there. No questions asked. She's same thing with her grandkids. I need her for anything. She's dropping whatever and she's there. And what?
No, okay. just ask for one more extra question.
Go ahead.
It goes with that.
Go ahead.
Do you ever think a mother knows everything and they stop learning?
No.
Okay.
You're still learning. You always learning. I'm still learning. Because especially, like, there are different phases in childhood. I'm a female. We were talking about I have boys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know everything. It's always a learning process on how to deal with things, how to talk to your children, especially when they're going through different phases. We're in the teenage stage now, so it drives me crazy. So it's just like, I may not know how to deal with certain situations, you know, that I just don't know how to deal with, or it's difficult for me to deal with, or they don't want to talk to me. So I have to reach out to my village to step in and be, I've reached out to you when it comes to my oldest, like, yo, talk, you know, can you talk to him a little bit? So it's just like, you know, you're constantly learning, and you just get feedback. My sister, same thing. If I need her to talk to, you know, one of the boys, she'll do that. And then like, she'll talk to me like, this is what you need to do because he's not liking this or whatever. And we've had conversations where she's kind of been the mediator because like, he's so much like me. He's me. That's just what it is. Yeah. He's just me. So that's where, as much as I know he loves me, as much as I know, like, he'll always make sure that mama's okay. He'll always make sure that I'm good. He's the one that I know is always going to like take care of me and make sure I'm good. But we will clash because he has my attitude and he is a mini me. And yeah, that's when we clash. So like, even she's had to come in and just kind of like mediate the situation and give us both advice, you know, and then we can understand, you know, and acknowledge our wrongs. And I'll try to work on this. And he'll be like, okay, Mom, I'll try to work on this. And, you know, we try to come, you know, up to a happy medium.
Absolutely. Because it's just like I say, everybody needs therapy. Yeah. So even like within ourselves, like even we need to be checked sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And that's important. And one thing I like that you mentioned was the village. You have that village to run to.
Thank God.
You always need a village. Some people are not blessed with villages, but when you have it, take advantage. And
absolutely. Between like blessed. My family and my best friends and like, you know, their uncle and, you know, you become part of our village. Like, it's just, I don't know what I would do if I didn't have like, each person plays their role. You know what I'm saying? I know who to go to for certain situations. You know what I'm saying? And thank God that like, and I'm just grateful that even the boys, like even when they're going through something and if I can't help them, I'm like, well, who do you want me to call? Do you want me to call your uncle? You want me to call Abe? You know what I'm saying? You want me to call Jay? Who do you want me to call?
That's where that male figure is important in a child's life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just to wrap it up. So I need you to look into that camera and tell what would you tell fathers out there that are not in the child's life or fighting to be in the child's life? What is one good piece of advice that you would give them? Continue
to fight. Don't give up. As difficult as the child's mother may try to make it for you, don't give up, because your involvement in your child's life is just as important as the mother's involvement in the child's life. So no matter how difficult it gets, it's worth it. It's worth every fight, every tear you cry. It's worth it.
Wow. Amazing. There you guys have it. This is DADAcation. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Danicka, for making it happen and having this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully we'll have you for part 2.
I'm here.
And just have that conversation.
Let's do it.
Take care, guys.
All right. Thank you.